Hello and good afternoon. You're welcome to Health Review, the show where we discuss healthcare delivery issues as it affects Nigerians, that is you and I, and especially where we suggest and make suggestions on what governments can do to improve healthcare delivery. Thanks for joining us again on the show. I am Chika Onyesi. Please be part of the program today. Join our social media platforms as displayed on the screen. Okay, a lot of things have been happening on the health scene across the country lately, especially as regards the strike actions that have been happening in the sector. A lot of issues have arisen from the doctors' strike and then the threat from the Joint Health Sector Union that they are going to also embark on that strike. The health sector is currently under siege, according to some analysts. But then again, there are more important issues happening aside the strike. Now, on today's episode of the show, we're going to be talking about family planning. I know some of you will say we've spoken about family planning a lot of times on this show, but this topic is very important to everybody because of the high rate of maternal mortality in Nigeria. So the more we talk about these things, the more Nigerians begin to understand why accessing family planning will help, with or without a doctor's strike. If you are able to access family planning, the rate of maternal mortality in Nigeria will be reduced. Okay, we'll take a short break now. When we come back, we go straight to the discussion with our special guests. Don't go anywhere. Okay, you're welcome back to the program. Or like I said earlier, our topic today is on family planning. Currently, there is a conference of stakeholders. The 2017 Stakeholders Conference on Family Planning is ongoing in Abuja. That conference currently is trying to discover how family planning, communication, and issues around family planning can be improved in terms of funding, strategies, and all that. And then again, we have a forerunner, so to say, on family planning issues in Nigeria as our guest. Dr. Ejike Orji is the chairman, Association for the Advancement of Family Planning in Nigeria. Dr. Ejike is our guest today. Doctor, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, Chika.
Thanks so much for joining us on
viewers.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us on the program this afternoon. Okay, Doctor, we want to find out. We want to find out exactly what the ongoing conference on family planning is, because we've heard so much about family planning, but it's always on the news. There is always something about family planning happening in Nigeria. What exactly is this 2017 conference all about?
Yes, this conference is called the fifth Family Planning Consultative Stakeholders Forum meeting. It's a meeting where you bring on all the stakeholders in Nigeria, both at the national and the sub-national level. Most of the people invited from the 36 states and Abuja were the commissioners of health, the permanent secretaries, where the commissioners couldn't come, the executive secretaries of the primary healthcare agencies, the reproductive health coordinators and family planning coordinators, including the health educators coordinators in each of those states.
Okay.
These were the people that were invited. And then a lot of international development partners who are supporting interventions in the states were also there. Okay. But most importantly, at the opening ceremony was a high-level advocacy outing where the major traditional rulers and religious rulers were invited, like the Obi of Onitsha, who was represented, the Oni of Ife, and then the Sultan of Sokoto also were represented by some of the clerics and leaders. And the Minister of Health and his deputy, and the Minister of State for National Planning, Budget and National Planning was also there. And then some of the governors also were represented, the Governor of Kaduna State, Oyo, and I think Enugu were all represented in the meeting. So you can see this is a high-level advocacy meeting, and also it was targeted also the decision makers at a sub-national level to make sure that we have a conversation around the issues that will make it possible or impossible for us to meet our target by 2018, having a contraceptive prevalence rate of 36%. As we speak now, we are hovering between 10 and 14%. And then we took a decision years ago that by 2018, contraceptive prevalence rate should get up to 36%.
Okay, that's a target Nigeria has set for itself, following the global standards.
Yes.
Now, but we know that getting to that target is a long shot.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things involved in making that target. What exactly are the things Nigeria has been able to achieve in terms of making that 2020 target?
Well, I always say that there's something we call the St. Aquinas law, who is the first mover. The first mover in this sort of issue is to, first of all, to have the political will and make the right decisions. And then the second one is to look for the resources, then the plans and activities and strategies to be able to roll these things out. So Nigeria has made the decision, yes, family planning is something that we have to focus on. And then before, we used to have zero allocation to family planning in the Federal Ministry of Health budget line item. There was nothing like family planning. But our association over the years had worked with the government to be able to put some money, at least starting with $3 million every year, to be able to support donors. Our family planning services are strongly and very, very robustly supported by donors.
Okay.
But we bring some counterpart funding on the table. It used to be 3 million. This year is going to be 3 million. But moving forward, the Federal Ministry of Health Minister, Professor Adewale Isaac, had promised us that by 2018, 17 rather, that there will be, 2018, sorry, there will be an increase of $1 million on top of the 3 million, making it $4 million for buying commodities. Because we're insisting that family planning service should be free in all the public sector outfits. Yeah, so, and that's a major push. And then not only that, the federal government has also developed what we call costed implementation plan. This is the set of activities that will be done with the strategies, but this is how much it's going to cost us also between the time we started this and 2018 to be able to achieve the 36%. Now, what the federal government did also this week during the consultative forum, they launched a few documents. But the two most important documents that I see here now is one, the green dots label. It's like it's the logo, just a green dots. So what we're saying is that anywhere from now moving forward, anywhere you see the green logo in any hospital premises, that means you can freely walk in there and access free family planning services. Now, the other one is the communication plan. The federal government has also developed a communication plan. And one of the key things that is going to happen today is that a consultant that developed the plan, Bola Kusemeji, is going to take all the states and federal capital through a process of how they are going to do the same launch of the logo and the communication plan in their various zones and states. So that's what this meeting is going to achieve at the end of the day. And
okay, Doctor, let me cut you short there. I understand that you mentioned earlier that the Oni of Ife, the Sultan of Sokoto, and the Obi of Onitsha. These are three high-level traditional rulers represented at that meeting. Now, why
the Oni himself came?
Yes, the Oni himself. I saw him; he was there, and I'm wondering, why would the Oni give importance to family planning? Why do we need this caliber of traditional rulers to be part of the consultative meetings?
Yeah, an assessment has been done over the years, and then for some of us who have been playing in that field for a long time, we found that there was a philosophical basis of the resistance to family planning. And unless you get that barrier out, no matter how much you put in, no matter how much plans you make, it's not going to work. And what was the barrier? It's religious, traditional, you get the point, and cultural. Well, traditional and cultural are the same, so to speak. So these are the key things that are making it impossible for women to access services.
Yeah.
So, and that's why we focused and targeted on the traditional and religious leaders.
Okay.
We have a buy-in. In fact, the Islamic perspective was relaunched again. It's been launched before in our family planning meeting we had in 2016. Both the Christian and Islamic perspectives in family planning were launched as a document. In this meeting, the Islamic one was launched again. Now, this would show that the clerics of both religions have come to an agreement with us that are playing in the field, that they must find a nexus where all of us will work to be able to make sure services get to our women. There's a commonality of purpose and a deep understanding that if we do not provide family planning services to our women will continue to die needlessly the way they are dying right now. Okay. Because family planning remains the major bullet to reduce maternal mortality and improve the health outcome of our women and children.
Why is that? Why is family planning the major bullet to reduce maternal mortality? I mean, fertility is what everybody goes out to look for. A lot of fertility hospitals are everywhere encouraging women to get pregnant, increase and multiply. Now, why do we need family planning to reduce population rates?
Well, you see, this is a narrative people don't want to hear.
Okay.
We're not saying that we're doing family planning to reduce our population. We're saying we're using family planning to have qualitative population.
Okay.
Population that has quality. In other words, you plan your family, you have the number of children properly spaced, and then you'll be able to take care of them. You get the point? Now, why is family planning a major bullet for reducing maternal mortality? Let us look at the reasons why women die.
Okay.
If a young woman gets pregnant before the age of 18, the chances of dying from that pregnancy is very high. I'll give you an example. A research was done by Packard Foundation some time ago in Nigeria, and they found out that 70% of all maternal deaths in the country, in terms of demographics, were below the age of 18. So in other words, if you leave those girls to get to age 18 before they start having pregnancy, you might have reduced 50% of those deaths.
Those are the ones we call child brides.
Child brides.
Okay.
Now, even if the girl is sexually active, the only thing that will not make her pregnant is family planning.
Okay.
You see the point? Now, we're also preaching spacing. Spacing minimum of 2 years between one child and the other one.
Next.
The men and women in marriage will continue to have sex. It's a natural phenomenon. You can't stop them from having sex. But the only reason they will also get pregnant if they use family planning services. So they can now make sure that they get pregnant when they want to get pregnant, and that should be at least making sure they space their children. There is also a firm understanding that once a woman has the 4th child and going to the 5th one, the 5th pregnancy might be more dangerous for the woman than all the other 4 pregnancies put together. So it's important that when a woman gets to the 4th pregnancy, she needs to really think twice whether she wants to continue having more babies, because you're endangering your lives in this our environment. In other climes, that's not a problem.
It's not a problem.
But in the present day development of our healthcare system, the woman is actually putting her life in danger.
Considering the doctor's strike.
Well, that's part of it. And then remember, if you die trying to have the 5th child, what happened to the other 4?
Exactly.
And it's also been shown when a woman dies, any child that is under 5 in that family, the propensity to die is 5 times. You see why it's magic bullet, not just for the woman, also for the child that is under 5. Then the 4th one is, if a woman starts getting up to 40 years of age and now wants to be pregnant for the first time, she's also looking for trouble. That one will call the person almost a grand elderly primate, because the complications of pregnancy increases are very high. Also, in this climate, the woman might be in danger. And the only way the woman can stop herself getting that pregnant is family planning. Even though a woman that has not had a baby going 40 will do everything. In fact, those are the ones that you talked about that mostly go to the fertility centers trying to get pregnant and have a baby. So you can see the moderating role family planning does. And then this also will help the country plan for their citizens. As we are now, even the census count that we had in 2000 and I think last census was 2006, we say we were 140 million at the time, and the projection rate of growth is 3.2%. So that's why, as we speak, we're about 189, almost 190 million people.
Okay.
And then, now people say don't talk about population. Well, do ostrich hide, don't talk about population. If we don't look at how we are managing our population too, by the year 2025, we will be 400 million.
Doctor, that is scary actually, but that brings me to
the people that will drive the population are people not like me. These are people like you and the young ladies in
the younger generation.
Is the future of this country that will drive that population. I've finished having my kids. A lot of people at my level have finished having their kids. It is our children that's going to drive that population. And that's why we're also focusing on adolescents and children at this point in time. I call them the missing group in family planning. They're unmarried. Every religion, every culture does not want to hear that an unmarried girl is going for family planning. But these are the same group that is going to drive our population to 400 million by 2025 if we don't do anything now.
If we don't act now. Okay, that brings me to the next question, Doctor. I'm looking at what the Minister of Health said at that meeting. I was at that meeting and the Minister said the family planning has been included as part of the economic recovery plan. Now I'm wondering how family planning can be a part of Nigeria recovering from the recession or growing its economy, as was implied by what the Minister said. How would you be able to explain this for our audience?
Well, I want to look at it in the context of what we call the demographic dividend.
Okay.
And I'll give you two clear examples in the world. Well, your age might not, you people are too young to understand what I was saying, but I'll paint the graphic picture. When I was a kid, if you give me a toy that is made in China, I'll throw it back at you. Because we felt that products coming from China were substandard.
Oh.
China was a very poor country, but with big population. What did the Chinese government do? They decided, I don't support what they did, but they did it for their own good cause. They legislated on birth rates. Nobody would have more than one child. They pursued it with vigor, and what happened? Their population, annual population growth slowed down, and that's how their economic and development and rates now went beyond the annual population growth rate. That's why China now overtook Japan to be the second richest country in the world after America. And from the way they are going, the trajectory of their growth in the next 10 years, unless America gets their act together, China is going to overtake them.
If I understand you well, Doctor, it means that this strategy is to make sure that you have people who are independent instead of having people who are dependent. Is that it?
Thank you. Our population now is what we call a dependent population. We have what we call the youth bulge.
Okay.
All right? 50% of our population, or 60% of our population is under the age of 30.
And they are dependent on their parents.
And the dependent population is just about maybe 4-5%. In fact, people above the age of 65 are just 3.5% of our population. And then you can go to some homes, you see fathers still taking care of their children who they help to marry. They are taking care of their children and their grandchildren. They are still living in their father's houses or grandfather's houses. They can't afford to have their own house. So if we do not get people to manage how they produce their children, they're going to get into financial trouble. And like I said, the demographic dividend that we're looking at is to make sure that we manage in a way that our annual population growth rate would come to par with our developmental growth rates.
Okay.
That way, we'll have quality of life. That way, we have services for every Nigerian that is qualitative.
Okay.
As we speak now, why are doctors going on strike? It's a question of resources. They feel that they are not giving their due. Majority of our doctors have left the country.
Exactly.
We're not just losing time and quality of services to our people, we're actually losing a lot of people that were trained by government resources. Most of the people who went to school in the federal institutions are all subsidized. In my class of 1980 as a medical doctor, 65% of my colleagues are outside this country.
Really?
Yeah. If it wasn't that I love this country so much, I say I'm not going anywhere, I don't have any business being in this country. That I decided to stay and work in international development spaces, that I decided to work as the country director and chief of party of an international organization. That's why I remained. You get the point. I got jobs at the UN, I got jobs, regional directorship jobs outside the country, but I said, this is my country. Those people have made their country what it is. We need to make our country what it is. And that's why I'm in the forefront of shouting, insisting that we should do the right things.
Okay.
You get the point?
Yes. Doctor, that brings me also to this recent position you were given. We understand you were elected as the CSO focal point person for Family Planning 2020.
Yes.
What exactly is this position? You mentioned the positions you've held in the past, but this is a new one.
Yeah.
What exactly does it entail in terms of being a focal point person in Africa for Family Planning in 2020?
Yes. In 2012,
okay,
the world had a big summit in London called the FP 2020 London Summit.
Okay.
And then this is a conversation around looking at family planning. And the world realized that they didn't do anything about the family planning, the population of the world will so explode that the world will be in trouble. Already we have what we call demographic crisis. Demographers say there are three things you will see in a country. You know that the country is going to be in crisis or already in crisis. One, when you have high level of youthful unemployment.
Nigeria?
Which we have in Nigeria. Second, when you have a high rate of immigration, nationals leaving their country in droves. I've already told you I lost 65% of my class to outside the country. But that's not really where the problem is, because those my colleagues that have left, they have very important positions outside the country. They remit money back. Diaspora and economy.
Okay.
Nigeria gets in about $40 billion every year from the diaspora and economy.
Okay.
So that's not a problem. But the real problem is when nationals that are not skilled that are leaving the country. 13 to 14% of everybody that crosses the Mediterranean, passing through Libya, the desert, and cross through the Mediterranean to land on European soil, are Nigerians. Young, mostly young girls, they have nothing, they are going to this commercial sex work. You see the point? So that's not skilled. Then the last is when nationals are killing nationals. Boko Haram, Odudwa, kidnapping in the southeast, a religious crisis in the northeast. All right? So those are some of these. So just a demographic crisis. So that's why the world now said they must find a way to make sure that populations don't grow the way they were growing. And now said by 2020, from that 2012, additional 120 million women must have family planning services. But in every country, they had focal point people who drove that at the national level, in the government and the international development partners. But they found out there was a missing link. There was no CSO representative from the countries. That's why in Nigeria, I was overwhelmingly elected as the CSO focal point person for FP 2020.
Okay. Thank you so much, Doctor, for honoring our invitation, our very short invitation to be on this program today. As the focal point person for FP 2020 in Nigeria, we're expecting that Dr. Ejike Orji is going to represent Nigeria in a world forum where issues concerning family planning, population management, and funding of these issues will be mentioned or discussed. Okay, and that's the package we have today for you on Health Review. Even as we come your way again next week, we expect too that all women, all male families, all couples who have reproductive age should try and access family planning services, because accessing family planning services will keep you healthy. They will benefit our population, improve your pockets, and of course, reduce our mortality rates. Thanks for being part of the show today. Till we'll come your way again next week. Thanks for being part of the show.